Best way to learn is to rip the Band-Aid. Hello and welcome to first Industry Live with a guest in a while. I'm ThatKimberly, and this is my good friend and my boss when I was making 385, Mr. Poncho. I'm sorry.
That's
and
right.
he's gonna help me today. We'll let him tell you his story because I suck. As everybody knows, I'm dyslexic, and before Grammarly I didn't spell very well. But anywho, we're on here today. We're back. We're looking for co-host. So Poncho and I are going to talk a little bit about what that looks like. I'm also doing a little health update, which Poncho, since he is a coach and a mentor to me, being that is my first boss and he couldn't get rid of me, he's gonna give me some advice on the journey that I'm taking, and then we're gonna wrap up and keep it in that 30. But if not, it's okay if I'm not attached to it, right? How are you, Poncho? Do you got to be somewhere?
No, I'm good. I'm all yours.
Okay, cool. Yay. So knows in the comments, well, if you don't know, we're on ThatKimberly, Facebook, LinkedIn, if StreamYard connected correctly, YouTube. I will probably cut some of this up and share it to good old Insta. And we're also, I don't know if we're live on Poncho's. Poncho, you said they had you some stuff when you, or I wonder if we're live on yours.
I shared it out to Facebook. I can check really quickly.
Well, no, don't worry. No, don't do nothing. Don't break it because you'll freak me out.
Hey, there are other methods.
So okay. So anyway, and Poncho's sharing it on his, but wherever you're at, tell us, in the comments where you're watching, hashtag Industry Live, and tell us where you're watching it from. And if you have a question about whatever we talk about today, please leave it in the comments. If you know Poncho or myself personally, for me, don't Facebook me. Send me a text message. My cell phone has not changed since the first cell phone I ever got, back with the bricks. So, for all you kids in the back. Anyways, so, and we're going to jump into this conversation because I'm going to try being of everybody's time and Poncho's time. So Poncho, you have known me when this was a thing, right?
Oh yeah, both of those.
So why don't you tell a little bit about you and how we're connected?
So I've known Kimberly since she was, I think you were 16 when I met you at the sports complex in El Paso, Texas, where I would spend a whole lot of time playing softball. And I actually know Kimberly aside from that through her mom, Hilda, who used to work with one of my brothers, and that's how I knew her. I had an opening at a sporting goods store that I managed where I needed a part-time shoe salesperson.
Garden
Schwartz Sports was no longer in existence, but it was, I think, the most fun job I've ever had, other than getting paid to play sports. That was the most fun job I've ever had. So I had that opportunity to offer Kimberly that position, and she took it on and was, as you can tell from her interactions, a spitfire of energy, and so she came on board and brought a lot of good positive energy. But I've always taken an interest in Kimberly because she's such a good person, such a nice person, and that's carried through. Our friendship has carried through these many years. But I knew Kim when she had the big hair, and when
the big poofy hair,
and when her brother Gene had the mullet and vest.
Hey, he was a stud, man. Gene.
Hey, that is no lie. Gene definitely had his moments.
Yes.
Yeah. But along that way, I've had some really good experiences professionally. Being a really young guy at the time when I was managing that store, I was in my very early 20s. I
thought you were older. I thought you were and I know we're going to talk age here, folks, because I wanted to make that distinction. I'm a Gen Xer all the way through and through, a little bit of a millennial, but I thought Poncho was way older than I was 16, and you said, how old were you? 20?
When I met you, I was about 21. And
he was my manager, and it was the best first job. Well, no, the best was being in the concession stand at the Sportsplex. Like that was
a pretty good job.
Too bad I had a high school start and wasn't in the dating realm until I got to college. But anyways, yes, it was quite an enjoyment, and the Garden Sports was even better. But you went into HR, like I thought you were 10 years older than me. I only bring that up.
No, I was at the sporting goods store until it was sold. It was sold from Garden Sports to a national chain.
Yeah.
And from there, I actually went and owned my own business. I owned my own sporting goods store for the next couple of years, which is a big element of pride for me. And although it didn't last as long as I would have wanted it to, the things I learned and took away from that have helped and lasted with me all along, as have the many learnings that I had at Garden Sports. I had two really good mentors there. I had Chris Putman, who is now living in the Portland, Oregon area. And
shout out, Chris.
Shout out to the Putter on Life on Twitter. And
I like it.
A gentleman by the name of Don Bean, who has since passed away, who was a very, very special person to me. Those guys really took me under their wing and taught me a lot about the industry, about taking on tasks, challenges, things that I didn't know about, and diving head into them. But after owning
holding your employees accountable,
right?
You always held us accountable. Like you were not mean, but you were stern. I knew how far I could get before I got into trouble.
Well, there's a balance. There's a balance that a lot of folks that manage people have a real hard time getting to. You're either on one end of the spectrum where you're too stern and too tough and not understanding, or you're too soft and too easy and don't hold your folks accountable. And neither of those approaches works long term. They may work for a little bit, but they don't work long term. So finding a balance, even though being a younger leader was tough, the sports background that I had really, really helped a lot. Learning the team dynamic and knowing that you're not always going to like or love your teammates, and you may not necessarily get along all that great, but the important thing is
you gotta love your team, but you gotta love your team. Yes,
that's right. You gotta love your team.
Hiss to the cowgirls. Hiss.
Hey, take that stinky thing off your head.
Hey, right. This was given to, you know what? It's because I'm from El Paso that I've become a Packer fan when I got to college, because I didn't have a choice. Like grandfather, my brothers, like you were either a Cowboys fan or Raiders fan. I don't know how or why that happened, but we didn't have nothing else. And I'm like, I don't like those teams.
Well, they don't like you either, so we're good.
Too bad, so sad. But it's about team. You were all about when you're their coach and when you're their team member, you were a great manager. That we're like, what's the best interest of the store? Don't do this, don't do that. Like and just for the sake of time, well, I don't mind us getting off a script, but because I do want to understand that we're looking for 3 co-hosts, but and so if you're interested, because you're going to get to know Poncho a little bit more, because he's going to be one of my co-hosts, and we're going to do a rotation over the summer. So if you're interested, you can go this link and you can either message me, you can fill out something. There's some downloadable free resources there. Or if you have my cell phone, people, just send me a text or call me. I love calls. Just call me. Okay. Anyways, let me tell you, as my old manager, you were very, very like, what's the best for this company, for this business. You always, before I even knew you were into HR, right? Like I went off and went to college and did my thing. And I went to a college where I had to wear one of these hats. Don't pay. I'm Hispanic, because people didn't believe that they're like, how are you Latin, Mexican, or what are you? And I'm like, my dad. So yeah, I mean, that's an HR nightmare, right? When people are like, what are you? Like, really?
Assumptions.
Sense of assumptions. So we are looking for us as well that are willing to share. I'm not trying to be all marky mark here, but I don't know. Anyways, Poncho, okay. Yeah, that works. If you talk about anything business that you're passionate about that you don't sell, you're not just anything. Or you're willing to talk about mental health in the workspace, because I'm going on my own mental health journey. I've probably been going on it since COVID. And Poncho is going to help me talk a little bit about it because it's important. It's one I don't think we talk enough about mental health, and I'm a Gen Xer. Poncho, we didn't get to how old you are. You're not 10 years or 20 years old. You're only
No,
6.
I'm 100% Gen Xer.
Like darn it, you act more sometimes.
Well, I have 3 brothers who are baby boomers. They're boomers. All 3 of my older brothers are.
That's right. So okay.
Boomers. So that's the influence from that. That's the influence on some of my behavior, on a lot of my music choices, on a lot of pluses for that.
Yeah, I got older brothers, and they influenced my music choices. Pop, Pink Floyd. Like we could go. They influenced my sports choice. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. Not the Cowboys, but everything else probably.
Yep. So that's why you may have gotten the feel that I was a little older. Was that plus? I've always had the advantage of being maybe a little bit more mature than guys my age at that time, anyway.
Yeah,
while still balancing the playful, immature part. That was always fun.
Back in the day when my hair looked like this, and yes, my brother would wear this vest with no shirt and get away with it.
Yep.
Don't be jealous. Don't be a haterade.
I'm not. I lived it. So I lived that.
That's funny. So, if I scan these next time in screen, because I'm being a little old school with that. But no, yeah. So we want guests to talk about their mental health journey as it relates to the workplace. When it's your story, we want you to share. This is my story. And Poncho, I don't know if you know, I can't remember, but I got put into an emergency timeout April the 19th. But I know I told you about my other emergency time during COVID. Yep. So that's ooh. And Kimberly ain't to emergency timeout again. So I had decided to, take my mental health seriously. It's an everyday practice that is not so cool to talk space anymore, right? Or had never been. We're trying to get there. I shouldn't say anymore. Never has it been. And because it happened to me, my second emergency timeout happened to me was when I was supposed to speak. And luckily I have a huge tribe network of friends. And so my family helped the people over there helped me get back to El Paso, and the people in El Paso, me and my mom move. So it was a traumatic experience for everyone involved. So I've decided to talk about it online. I did start some videos on Instagram. You can go over there and check it out, so you can get comments interested on that Kim Scott's Insta. But if you go to Google, let me show you something. Anyways, if you go to Google and put in that Kimberly, my whole wherever you want to watch me from, you will see it, right, Poncho? Didn't I show that to you the other day?
Yeah, you did. I was super impressed by that. I was like, wait a minute, what am I doing wrong here?
Well, Poncho has hired me to help him his podcast that's about right. thoughts from the midlife. Poncho, when I put in all my symptoms, they're saying the Google is saying that I'm having a crisis at going into 50.
Hey, that may be true. That may be true, but there are a lot of thoughts from the midlife that I think are good things to share professionally, personally, all of it.
Yeah. And if you're interested, connect here. I'm going to throw this up at the end as well, but I'm sure because halfway through, because I want to do a little sensitive assumptions on this, right? I want you as the person who does have an HR, that is, what is your degree? Remember, what's your study?
It's actually in kinesiology, but
My bad.
however, professionally it's management and HR, and
Got it.
that's where 30
Yeah.
plus, nearly 40 years now
Yes.
of leading people at a very young
And
age.
you managed and led me, and you came from going and doing stupid things, except for getting a fake driver's license out of New Mexico. A whole other conversation one day.
Hey, that
I'm
stuff,
not
that was
ashamed.
stuff beyond my reach, man. That stuff I did not know. So,
But anyways, but here now I decided I wanted to put this on social because I want people talking about it. Like I put on, I am a family to my mother. I'm her primary. I do have someone that's always with her Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. She's alone. She's either with me, my brother, my sister-in-law. Someone is always with my mom and hanging out with my mom. Shout out Hilda Anderson, Hilda Valdivia. But I can't just give up, I can't just give up my life. I thought I could just give up my life and just time caregiver, but I can't do that. Like for my own sanity, I can't do that. For my own normal, I can't do that. I tried it. I wouldn't be a very good Stepford wife at all. Not good with that, like at home and doing nothing or taking care of someone else. I can't even do that. I'm glad I didn't have children. I have a lot of nieces and nephews and god babies that I claim, but I couldn't. I mean, shout out to moms in the world. Every mother or single father, let's say mothers and then single fathers, right? Those that choose to take on their kids because they got a crave for a mama,
right.
baby mama. Because I have some of my good guy friends have had to take on that challenge. So I don't know how you people do it. I don't know how you birth. Well, I give you more credit more to your personal life, but I want to talk about my journey and how I got slammed, like I hit a brick wall at a conference. And so I don't want people to be scared to ask me or what, why, and where, and this whole topic of medicine is in there for 2 weeks. And the only reason I got out was because the state wanted to, like, had court to tell them that I was not a danger to myself or others, that I am naturally this on without any medication or drugs, and that I just had a panic attack. I passed out in the shower in the downtown Fort Worth Sheridan. Like, it's a pretty thing, like, and it was scary for everyone else that had to see me in a light which Deb was one of those people. Shout out Deb Druin. She's our host. She's the OG host with me on here, which you'll meet soon, Poncho. But yeah, like she was there to pick me up out of the shower naked and get dressed. That is pretty scary for someone, right? Like,
Absolutely.
And I was there at a conference to represent someone. Luckily, that client understood and had a problem with, they just told him, hey, Kimberly's got a family emergency. And they said, okay, no problem. Like, the multifamily industry is strong and family always comes first. But my tribe at my apartment space world, they just lifted me up basically like this and went to get back to El Paso. And then my whole family here in El Paso picked my entire apartment up and went move. All my stuff into a house that we had planned to be moving into. So the whole experience in itself was traumatic for me, as well as because I made other and that I had to go to court to even. They were going to put me in for another 90 days because the first 5 days I refused to listen to anything they had to say because I was pissed off, and that's a whole other conversation. Go back to the Instagram. You can kind of get an insight, but we'll talk a little about how our healthcare system is broken. But I want to put this on social because I want employers to understand that this is important, that mental health, that it's okay to not be okay, and nobody's perfect, right? Like, I did not go to jail. God, I didn't do anything wrong but pass out and lock myself in a hotel by accident. I traumatized a lot. The things I did do wrong were traumatizing my roommate, business partner, Deb and Amanda, Diana, like you name it, traumatized some people, right? And now everybody wants, like, and well, she wasn't there in that moment, but she had had to help me one other time. And the only people that knew that I'd gone into emergency timeout before was my sister-in-law and my best friend, because I was coming in hot to El Paso, Texas, to put someone away because I was so pissed off because of family caregiving. Now, how do you handle somebody like me when all that bubbles over and poof, blows up in your face?
Well, the key element is to try to understand the person's situation. And, you know, a lot of HR professionals are folks that they live and die by their company handbook, right?
That's bad.
And
That's
you know,
bad.
I tell folks all the time. This is one of my taglines to the folks that work with me and that are side by side with me in my particular industry and in my place particularly, is that, you know, HR encompasses a few things. It's not an all-encompassing department, but you know, you look at payroll, right? And you can try to take every payroll issue you can have, from mistakes and garnishments and et cetera. You can take all the payroll issues that can happen and you'll find a box big enough to put them in.
Yeah.
The same thing with employee benefit questions, my 401, my health insurance, my dental,
But
all
what do
this
you
stuff.
tell someone? But what do you tell them that, like, if you didn't know me, if you didn't know that I was you didn't know had created a business from scratch, me and shout out Janet Settle, and then already sold it and had just met me for that first time at a conference, and then I get interviewed and you're like, but I saw you, like what would you do? Like, how could you be biased?
Well, the examples that I'm giving I'm getting to is that you can take all the benefits questions and also find a box, but what you can't find a box big enough is for employee relations issues, and that's what this would fall under, right?
Employment relation issues.
They're called employee relations. So let's say you were an employee of the company I work for, and you had these issues.
Okay, we got to do it short because it's 20 minutes.
Right. So let's say you were that, and I tell people all the time, look, there's not a box big enough because every person has a box, and on top of that, every person may have a box for a different day of the week, and a different box for different personalities, right?
Yep.
So the first thing to do is you try to gather as many facts as you can, as much factual information as you can get. And the worst mistake we can make as professionals is to make assumptions about people.
Yes.
You know,
but wait a minute, because I'm being hired by your company now, and you've already seen me. Like I had friends, oh, Kimberly, you should not go on. This could affect your, like, I've heard rumblings that it's affected my career, right? And I'm a consultant. I'm a contract person, and people hire me because I believe in branding, because I have been doing the things I've been doing and lead charge of things, whether it's online streaming video, to a video app, to whatever it is, to doing podcasting. In the apartment industry, I was one of the few people that was doing podcasting and went to live, just to kind of give you a little, up to date when it comes to, and very ahead of the curve, right? And people hire me because I am that.
Right. Well, here's
worried about me. Well, is this going to affect your career? This might have already affected your career.
Well, it's highly possible. It very is. It shouldn't be that way, right? But it is. It's just like I tell people. Well, ask people, do you believe that that racism exists? And some will say no. I said, well, it does. It can be very subtle sometimes in the industry. It can be very subtle. That's why when folks write resumes, I help them write resumes, and there are certain indicators there that you want to leave off that will not tip anybody off to give you any more reasons not to hire you. And the same thing in your circumstance. I mean, you're being very open, very upfront about the circumstances you were in. And I'll tell you this, if someone doesn't want to hire you because of that, you probably didn't want to work for them anyway.
That's very true. Well, and because consultant or a freelancer for you young kids, back in the day when you and I were coming up, consultant meant you really didn't have a job, or you weren't quite sure, right? Consultant is a real thing in so many different levels. Like, I had a problem in the very beginning, even calling myself a consultant, but I am a contractor. I am for hire to brand you, right? And people love me because I am and I did a damn good job of branding the company that got bought by another company. Right. So and And I have learned from Gary Vee, shout out Gary Vee, I'm not going to convince people to say yes. Like they either, this is what you get with all good gold pieces, right? And I know that I need to check myself all the time. And I know at a conference now that if I'm coming in overstressed, underslept, like all the things that it's going to cause me to pass out. You know, it's going to be bad things. And luckily I was there as it was more, you know, this is a client, but this is a client that's very understanding in what, like, it was more of a trade than anything else, but still I was still going to be wearing their gear. Luckily I never went out and they saw me.
You'd be representing them.
Yeah, but first and foremost, I read myself. And so this is what I want people to understand is that, especially the young kids in the back, I represent myself, and there's nothing to be ashamed of when it comes to mental health. If you are doing that you can do, like, now I know better, so I'm going to do better. But the first time I went into attention was because I was trying to kill the step monster, and that's a later yeah. And
it's not an analogy, okay? It's not an allegory. But let me just tell you something, is that, you know, there's a competency that we as adult humans, or whatever you want to call us, and as employers and employees, that we seldom overlook, and that's self-awareness. I think that self-awareness is critical in every element of your life. And if, say in your case, if you were more self-aware that you were burning the candle on both ends, you were in a very high stress situation professionally and personally, then maybe you could have done something to prevent that. And so, you know, it may be a trite term, but you hear the term of life and work balance a lot when people are looking for employment, and when employers are recruiting employees. It really isn't just a byline. Nope. It really isn't just a tagline. It really is important. That's why with folks that work, I hate to use the term work for me, right? But that I work with, I'm often telling them, hey, you've got to find healthy outlets, and healthy outlets don't include binging on booze or recreational drugs or anything that's not good for you.
Yeah.
It really depends on finding healthy outlets, whatever that healthy outlet is for you. This is a healthy outlet. You know, I started my podcast as a healthy outlet because I love to talk about sports. Yes. And I'm sure my wife is dead tired of hearing me talk about it. So even though I don't have big followers.
But you're doing what you love, right? Like, and okay, so let's go into, so this is what I only, you know, like, this is the way everybody has seen me for the past 15, 20 years. This was a magazine that we were on the cover of that's in the multifamily space. Shout out to AT. But the healthy outlets that I used to have back then were partying, but on the after hours. I owned that company, right? But when 8 to 5 at a conference, I was buttoned up. Nobody saw me like any different crazy Kimberly. My high school, my college, I'm the same person. I'm just a little bit more buttoned up when I'm in front of people, but now I'm buttoned up this way, right? I know what I should and shouldn't say, and I was grateful and I don't date in my conference worlds. I don't date in the industry that I work within for those reasons, and because I've learned a lot of my mom, shout out to my mother, farm, shout out to your brother, that I saw the dynamic business world from just being a third party with my grandfather, rest his soul, the fast forward for all those years, and how those networking went and everything. Like, that's how you and I, you know, I got my job because you knew my mom, because my mom with your brother. That's just, it works, right? And so I was always buttoned up. But when I went away to college, I became the Kimberly I am, that Kimberly. And I know, like, I was there to be professional, but I was burning it because I was to, like, this is what I need to do. Like, that's why I don't understand how parents can handle that. Like, you know, women that give birth and postpartum depression, like we'll go into that with Deb. Like, because she's the mama on the show. Like, I'm the mama bear, but I've never had any children. Now, child, my mother, and that's a controversy, right? Like, saying that to people, but I could care less. You know me, but for 20 years. This is what people, this was me. This is me. It is still me. My mouth is just, but different, but my mouth is the same. But I try to be more self-aware about that. I am a lot of energy. I need to slow it down. And I'm okay with, instead of working 120 hours a week, with only 10 a week, maybe 40 a month, and that's my choice. And that's why I'm consultants, the name consultant, because you get to choose, right? Because for 15 years, it was a full-time job and 20 employees. And like, that was like my baby on its own, right? Like that was a family of its own by itself. And it's a lot. And I didn't manage my energy, my time, everything else, to where when I was coming in, even though I was teaching, this conference, what we're doing right here, like a real quick high level is gonna be 30 minutes. It's something I like, how to go live. Everything else after that would have been just extra advice, right? How to go live, or somebody after that would have seen me and might maybe me. And so I was like, I got to get to that conference. I got to do these things, and I never want to not follow through. My mother and my grandfather, my father and my grandmother were very big about, you give your word, you shake somebody's hand, and that is on. I don't do that anymore. I still give my word, but I get them to sign it in writing. It's just different, right? Like, and so is mental health.
And it's critical to the function that we do every day, because a mentor of mine once told me, look, I want you, your health, your family, all of that to be the 1A priority in your life, but I wouldn't mind being 1B as your employer, right? And that ethic, that focus on work is something that's been passed along, like you with your grandpa and your pops and your mom and all of that, right? Well, same here. And to make a point regarding why people would want or not want to hire you, I can close with this, is that same mentor, his name is Wes Schotten, and I doubt he's on here, but he was a great mentor to me. And he taught me a couple of things that are with me every single day. And he's told me this. He says, look, we all have our resume, right? Hopefully everybody has their active resume, because you should, don't fall in love with your employer, because your employer can fall out of love with you just like that.
I like that.
So he says, there's your resume. It tells you where you went to school, where you've worked, what are your skills, et cetera, right? What is our professional business card, if you will. He says, there's another resume that is unwritten, right? It could be anywhere from, any number of words. And those words describe who you are, right? But they describe who you are based on the things that you consistently do, which in turn is your reputation, right? So that's where the term "your reputation precedes you" comes from. Before you come into a room, your reputation is already sitting in a chair. So in your case, because you were that Kimberly that was on, at so many conferences. I mean, I followed your career over the course of time through social media and through our friendship. You were always there. You were reliable. You're somebody high energy that really made things happen. You built your company from the ground up and were able to sell it and do great for yourself. Well, because of that is why people should hire you, because that's professionally the reputation that you have earned through your hard work, your blood, sweat, and tears, right? So anything that comes up that is an aside from that, your adult timeouts, your emergency timeouts, your adult timeouts as we call them, right? That's life. You're not a Stepford, you're not a robot, you're a person. Yeah. And that, from an HR perspective, is one of the key things that people should always consider.
Yeah. That is a man on the money, Poncho. That is the reason why I'm doing this, because I want the Gen Xers and the boomers from the back. That's the kid about right now, because the millennials and the Gen Zs, the alphas, are going to change the world. Alpha generation is any child under the age of 10 right now. I got to look at that. We did a series with last year with Deb. Shout out to Sochi and to Miss Carla, but around the generations, right? And the millennials and the Gen Zs, the reason they don't want to work for anyone or for a corporation that doesn't care about them is because that's his life. It happens. The Gen Xers taught that you just cover that up, right? Postpartum depression, you cover that up. Midlife crisis, you cover that up.
You rub some dirt in it.
All of it. All of it. You cover it up. You don't talk about it. And wrong. That is so wrong.
It
and
is.
So when I went live on Insta, I had, I tied my hair up. I was like, because I had such anxiety, but I had to say, and you know how many, like, I can't tell you the love I got from the Gen Zs and millennials, both on there and off, that it gave me what I was doing. And my nephew go, keep going, Kimberly. And him and I never correspond on Facebook. Or I'm sorry, he's not even on Facebook, on Twitter or Insta. He's only on Twitter and Insta.
Yeah, Facebook is for us Gen Xers.
It's for you old people.
Hey,
I do all of I'm a modern elder. I'm going to call myself a modern elder.
Don't be clumping me in. I'm with you, man. So
okay. I'll teach you. It's okay. But my point is that I knew I was doing something right. And so many, especially that are already suffering with any kind of depression or anxiety. So many of my friends reached out that I know that they have shared their personal struggles with me because I share it with them, that I knew the right thing. Because you should, like, this is called life. And if we don't used to this and we don't take it in yes, it precedes me. Be loud. I'm on some days, but I have learned I'm very self-aware going into my 50s. I told in my emergency timeout, shout out to Alishba, because they're not on here. And her name is Psycho Kitty. I don't remember. But a couple people I made friends with in the psych ward that were all anywhere from the age of 21, maybe 30. I said, if I had started therapy when I was 20, something be here. And I'm not going to jail. And I'm never coming back, to JPS, because that suck, bad reviews. El Paso psych ward is the Hilton 5 compared to Tarrant County JPS.
Tarrant County, yep.
That and we'll talk about, I would love to have some insight from an HR perspective from you. They violated so many HIPAA laws. I was like, that's hashtag HIPAA. And I had this girl going, that's cash money. And I was like, I know that's a rapper, but is that something I should be saying? Is that a hip cool? And she goes, you don't know. I said, I know who cash is, but you're using it in a different context. Should I be using that word? Because I want to be cool, right?
Right. You do want to be mindful of that.
I want to be and that's my point. That's why I was like, okay, I want to do this. I'm so grateful. I do want to wrap us. And just so that people understand that we are looking for co-hosts, we are looking for guests, and that this is what the series is about. If you go Insta, you'll get my more updated on the life thing. Feel free to look for those. That Scott, because some chick has ThatKimberly and has never used it. I've tried from her, it doesn't work. But go to the Google. Poncho, why don't you tell them how I do to search?
Yeah, so we're sitting there having lunch, and she said, why does your YouTube have a different name than your podcast? And I said, because I thought it was cool. She says, look, let me type in ThatKimberly into Google, and I'll show you what comes up. So she typed it in, showed it to me, and I got her YouTube page, her Twitter, her Facebook, her LinkedIn, every possible way you can possibly get to ThatKimberly. It floored me. I came home and told my wife, sweetheart, my podcast might actually get more than 20 subscribers at some point if I follow.
Okay, so we want to make sure. Let me throw up so this is how you can, Poncho, because yes, he has several podcasts, but the one that we're talking about is Thoughts from the Mid. Hold on, somebody's calling me. I gotta turn that. I should have turned my phone off. Oops, sorry, kids. So if you want to connect with Poncho, you want to be a guest on his podcast, why don't you tell him a little bit? We're at the 40 mark, so tell them a high level what kind of guests you'd like to have on.
Thoughts from the Midlife is exactly what it sounds like. I like to impart experience, information, share whatever knowledge I've got to anyone that'll listen, particularly younger guys that maybe need some guidance professionally, personally. We also
I listen. I know you don't think I do, but I listen to you.
Yeah, you do listen to me, and you're like what I call
like
fertile
a big
soil.
Brother I didn't ask for, another big brother.
It's fertile soil, right? Those are the best people to mentor.
Yes.
And there's a lot of sports conversations because bottom line, that's what I love to talk about the most is sports. And so
we will have some of those conversations because Poncho will be a co-host over the summer for us. I'm super excited, but we are looking for 2 more co-hosts. Oh yeah, and we'll have some Cowboys to pay. That might mean you have to extend your contract into
football season.
Football season, and that could get really. That would be fun. We'll talk about that later. Anyways, so. Because I am not I'm just an anti-Cowboys everything. Like, I don't like Jerry Jones. We'll talk later, people that know. But I have gotten some of my shout out EP people into the high ups of that stadium, like Jerry's World. I've gone, but I just haven't given Jerry any of my money. That's the point. So
he doesn't need any of it, which I don't like giving it to him either.
But he takes it from the little guys. So anyways,
believe me, I'm on the same page with you on that.
Yes. Yeah. Anyways, so if you want to be in the live, you want to be a guest for on the industry live, either the series of sensitive assumptions or I was drunk right now, but I'm not. That's even crazier. I'm thinking to myself, like, people's going to come by and they're like, what the heck are you wearing a cheese? But people in the industry know that this is me. Like, I'm promoting this, meet some guests. I think between me, you, and Deb, we would be okay with just the Wednesdays through the summer. But if we're going to carry it on, we got to really think about the sports comment, tie that into HR. I think that would be a really, because I know some people who don't get into sports. I don't know how you would talk to them, but.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of analogies and work experiences that go beyond sports. So
yeah, I know. We'll have to hit some of those.
I've worked and dealt with folks from across the spectrum of industries and different interests. So I'm sure we can have a good chat.
Yeah, I trust. Okay. Well, and we're going to be getting folks, if you want to go and hear more about my grippy sock vacay, you can see that over on Insta, that Kim Scott on Insta, but everywhere else you see all those there. Let me go this way. And we have, of course, Poo Prints with sponsoring, and yeah, there we go. And she'll on a Wednesday. We'll get the whole schedule lined out. I know we're here Friday because I just wanted just a little live lesson with me and Poncho. I feel I like the spontaneous. That makes me happy. I don't like regular things. The everyday monotony of life already drives me crazy as well. So I can't always be scheduled when it comes to doing lives. You should be consistent. If you can't make them on the same day, I've been going live on Insta, just updating people on my grippy sock vacay, as Alicia talked about. And it's really just about mental health. So if you want to be a guest and talk your mental health journey in the workspace, Poncho, you're going to have to be wrapping us up, or anything in business. If you can talk about something, service marketing, startups, tech, whatever, and you don't sell us, but
real estate,
you have to educate. Yeah. Yes. Because this is what this is about. We're going to get knowledge from our experience. If it's our story, we get to tell it. So mental health, when it comes to my mental health story that we're going to be kind of sprinkling in. And Deb already agreed to go live with me to talk about the experience of getting me out of the shower. And then also my other friend, my ride or die man, who worked with me for 15 years. I don't know if I got Janet's in, but I know Amanda, shout out H-Tone. She is absolutely going to come on and talk to me about that experience. I haven't asked Leah, who was my roommate. So if anybody sees this, and tag Leah Lindsay in there, because I'd love to know if she'd come on live. But it was traumatic for them. And I'm sure Rita would love to come on, but she's got a busier schedule. Her on Insta, so we'll leave that over there. But it's affected even my best friend, my friendship with my best friend, right? Like I took on too much. Life happened. It slapped me in the face, like business. And I want us to be talking about it because nobody is talking about it.
Well, it happens to all of us. You just happen to talk about it. That's all.
Yes. We appreciate you all very much. I'm gonna throw up Poncho's how you can again, and I'm also gonna put them in the actual it only shows up, I think, on YouTube. StreamYard has changed their software. I'm so excited to see what it looks like from a guest point of view, Poncho, when I see you. Because StreamYard is the bomb. It helps you connect to platforms at once, except for Instagram. I don't know when they're going to get that, but they're probably going to get that shaped up soon. Restream is another one. I tested Restream. I just didn't like it. It is a good product. I don't like, this is not a sell for either one, but what I use is StreamYard. I don't even know. I tried the Restream. I couldn't figure it out. Maybe because I've been using StreamYard since before they got bought by Hopper. So I've been doing lives back and podcasts back before Zoom got stepped up. So anyways, so just like throwing that out there, and we'll be on this Wednesday. Poncho and I, we'll discuss the time and we'll do the promotion and stuff like that. Look for us. Our Industry Live Sensitive Assumptions will start today's Friday, Wednesday. This is a promotion then. This is a promotion for next Wednesday because we usually try to do a promo. But next Wednesday, sometime around lunch, Poncho, can you commit to sometime around lunch?
Let's talk about that. We'll work something out.
See, that's what you do. You don't throw them. You don't throw people too far. I didn't throw them under the bus because I never talked to them about a time. But so, damn this hat. See, that's what a Hispanic does. Anyways, thank you very much for joining us, Poncho. Any last final words? Because we're hitting. I haven't been on for 46 minutes or an hour in a long time, but we got a lot of content we get to cut up. It's called Repurpose, folks.
Lots of it. Yeah. All I say is a hashtag unscripted life.
I'll show you where to put that.
Right.
Okay, folks. Have a Friday and a great weekend. Remember, mental health does matter, period. And so does empathetic. Empathy matters, period. Okay. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.